Cool. So we've got that one all cleaned up. Looking pretty schmick. Can't see any dirt or anything around any areas. So that one's looking pretty nice. Yeah, just got this little air gun here that I go through all the bolts, all the holes, all the galleries, everything like that. Blow air through it so it cleans it all out nice and neat. Just something like this. Just turn it on. Bit hard on one hand, but cool, you can get the idea. Cool, so the next one we got here is the crank. So we're going to unwrap this one, get it all washed up, and then be able to probably fit up the... Actually, I'm going to leave it dry for a bit. I'm going to go through and, yeah, just make sure it's all dried before I start assembling it, and get some of the assemble grease and things like that we put on all the parts going back in the engine. Because essentially what happens is that when the engines do get fired up for the first time, there's no oil through any of the galleries because we've completely cleaned it out. Just a sec. So, you know, there's we've got to go through and assemble everything with assembly grease. So I'll show you that once I pull it out. And what that does is provides, whilst the engine is turning over and starting up for the first time, it provides lubrication to bushes, to the crank, to anything that's spinning on a part, rather than just spinning on bare metal. Always recommend it, always have used it. Wouldn't assemble an engine without it. So yeah, and that's essentially, yeah, just as I said, because there's no oil in any of the galleries until the oil pump starts pumping it through. Cool, I'll show you that once it starts to happen. But next up, we're pulling this crank, unwrapping this crank. I don't know whether I mentioned it yet, but you'll probably see all these wrapped up in Glad Wrap. They're actually sprayed all through of oil before I wrapped them up. I'm not too sure whether I did a video on that. Can't remember. But and then I've wrapped them up in Glad Wrap. It stops all that oxidization from happening. And these have been wrapped up for maybe a year, something like that, probably a little bit more, some of them. And yeah, so we'll be able to unwrap these and be able to start cleaning it up. Let's get into it.
Searching for greatness in a sea of the dying and shameless, a sea of the aimless. I don't wanna be one of the nameless. I'ma wake up with the mindset that one day I'm gonna make it, and I don't think I'll be fine if I don't break my limitations. Don't try to stop me, I exist to write my own story. I'll make a decision if I want some peace or if I want the glory, yeah.
Cool, so that's what we've got with the crank. Oh yeah, it's got some smell to it, that old oil. You can see here from the journals, hopefully that's coming through all right on camera. Pretty much I can wipe away any of the marks that are on any of these journals. If they were any sort of serious marks, and if I've got a photo, I'll chuck it up here of where journals do get damaged, and this is just part of racing. I know what I did at the time. It was just using way too thick of a oil setup, and then so that's just caused too much pressure behind those bushes and too thick of an oil film, and it's causing overheating, and it's just fried those journals in that photo up there. So as you can see from here, we've got no marks anywhere on the journals. Any sort of wiping takes away any sort of black smudges on all the journals. So that's what I'm doing here, just double checking. Looking also down through all the holes within here, because essentially that's where the oil comes from. And then yeah, just making sure nothing is blocking them. That would be not very good at all, and it'd cause some big problems down the track. So cool. If I was doing this as a proper, like a serious race engine, I'd pull the counterbalance off. I think it is. I think that's what it is. I'd pull that off and send this away to be balanced. So when it spins, it all provides the same balance, and essentially that would help the revolutions of the engine build up evenly, and no weight being moved anywhere that it shouldn't be. I'm not going to do that for this one. There's a lightning technique as well, where they start to cut away this material. I use a knife. This material along here, that's one of the techniques, and you'll see on this side there as well, one of the techniques of lightening up. Also, I think I've seen ones that drill into here, start lightening it up as well. That helps with acceleration. Due to a lighter crank, you're able to, with the same amount of power, you can, same amount of power from the pistons getting pushed down, you're able to spin up that weight faster. So it definitely helps out with acceleration, but you lose weight in the crank. So you'll lose, how can I put it? You'll lose centrifugal force that the weighted or the normal crankshafts provide from a building up power perspective. So your torque curve will be very different between one that's been lightened and then one that hasn't. Because we look for bottom end torque, bottom to mid-range torque, we don't lighten them. Well, we don't as a team lighten them. We can get them lightened if we wanted to. One day we might try it, but the problem with turning the wheels too fast on Speedway is the rear wheel doesn't have time to catch on any sort of traction. So we want it to be a little bit slower. We're some of our engines rev to 13,000 RPM. So on the acceleration up to that, we don't want it to be any faster than it is, because we're already wheel spinning out of the start and into the first corner rather than getting all the power to the ground. So I've heard about people adding weights to them, so it slows that acceleration in the crank as well. I've heard all sorts of different stuff over the years. We get them balanced in our race engines. This is a fun kid muck around bike, we're not doing it for this one. And because of our main bike, we won't be doing in that one either. It's a bulletproof engine, apart from when it goes upside down. So we're not going to worry about it in that aspect. But yeah, so that just a bit of background on cranks and what we would normally do if we were doing like a serious performance engine. Cool. So what we're going to do now is going to chuck that out, and I'm going to get this over to the parts washer and start cleaning it down. Just clean all the old oil off it, cleaning any material, oil or little flakes of metal or bushes or anything like that. Just cleaning it all away. So it becomes a brand new, well, not brand new, but a very nice crank to put back together. And when we do the assembly, it makes it a lot easier. Cool. That's what we're going to do. So we'll get it done. Okay, cool. So they're dried off a bit. So what the first step we're going to do is we're going to install some bushes. So these ones here, 489 are the color blue, for journal locations 2, which is this middle one here. 1 and 3 are the same on the outside, same as the bottom half of the crankcases compared to the top half of the crankcases. So the first up, what we're going to do is we're going to install these ones. I'm going to show you how we do it, and then yeah, we'll be able to go from there. Cool. So we're going to open up both of these ones, So the assembly lubrication that we use is this one here, CRC assembly lube, extreme pressure, anti-seize, with moly graphite in it. We've been using it for a long time. It's almost time to get some more. But yeah, really good stuff. Never had any problems with the startup or things burning out because they weren't lubricated properly, anything like that. So yep, really good stuff. Would recommend. Not sponsored or anything. No, that's just stuff we've bought. Cool. So we're gonna open up these ones. That's all they are. You know, you'll be able to see from the color on the one side of the bushing to work out what color they are. That's pretty bright, that one. Let me pick up one that's been in there a while. Don't know how long it's been in there, but you can sort of just see it right there on the blue marking. So once it does get oil on that side, it does tend to wear out a little bit, that marking, but yep, nice and clear in these brand new ones. Cool. Gonna open up the next one here. Okay, cool. So we've got them out of the packet here. You are very loud, kid. Okay, cool. So you can see a little notch on them on that side, and I'll bring the camera over here. They line up with this little notch here. Are you right? So they essentially sit in here like that when they get pressed in. They'll be flush on both sides because they'll sit without the gap in the bottom. Gap not in the bottom there. So before they go in, I'm just going to put a little bit of assembly lube on the bottom of them, and then be able to put them into place. So we'll get this done. Something like that on the bottom. I'll move it all around with my finger. So we've got a nice little coverage on that one. Then we're going to put it in place here. I like lining one edge of the bushing up before pushing it in. So one side will be flat here, or as much as I can, and then I push down in the middle of it, and then it sort of sits in place there. You can use, that's the easiest way that I find to do it, just to get them flush. You just push them down on one side, and then they'll come back flush. If you do need a little bit more pressure, just to get them perfectly flat bladed screwdriver or anything that won't mark that. So we've got assembly lube coming out the sides of there, which is good, because if it didn't, it means we wouldn't have had enough on there to start with. So that wouldn't have been good. So we're going to do exactly the same process with this one. Again, the notches with this one here line up with the little notch in the bushing there. Makes it a lot easier. Cool, nice and coverage on that one. So exactly same again. Making sure it's clean before putting anything in there. Clean from grime, grit, anything like that. Helps if I put it the right way. That is always good. And not drop it. That's why we have a clean workstation for. They touch the cloth, so I'm just going to put a little bit more on in that one corner that it touched the cloth. Cool. Cool, perfectly flush, and goop coming out either side of those bushes. Excellent. That's how they look sitting in there. With this one, it's got a little bit of goop on either side, which is good. Same as on this one. Cool. So we know that these two are nice and installed correctly. I'm going to do 1 and 3 on the top, and then 1 and 3 on the bottom, then 1 and 3 on top as well. So we're going to get that done.